Hey, I'm Thea. I'm sure you like cakes and exciting stories. Today, I have both for you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and make yourself comfortable. My twin sister and I grew up in an orphanage. Gemma and I were as different as day and night, but we were also inseparable like water and fish. My sister was a real genius. When she was 7, she was already using scientific terms that left adults stumped. And I was just Thea, a carefree weirdo. Miss Helen, look! I have a worm hat! Oh, Thea. Gemma didn't like to play. She was too serious for her age. Even as a child, she wanted to find a cure for cancer. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, I like to make cupcakes out of sand and treat our teachers. Honey, add a little water next time. It's a little dry. Miss Helen wanted to adopt us, but she didn't even have enough money to provide for herself. She worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. We loved Miss Helen. She was the best, and she loved us. Couples often came to the orphanage. They wanted to adopt either me or Gemma, but we refused to be separated, and no one wanted to take in 2 girls at once. In the end, Gemma and I grew up together and were like 2 peas in a pod. And then we turned 16. We were still inseparable, but we were also moving in different directions. I wanted to open a pastry shop after graduating, and Gemma dreamed of getting into university and becoming a scientist. One day, my sister took part in the school science competition. She designed some sort of keychain that was powered by solar energy and could charge phones. I was rooting for Gemma like she was my favorite team at the World Cup finals. When I heard that she'd won, I was almost deafened by my own screeching. After the ceremony, a mysterious couple approached Gemma. They were Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Hello, we represent the Steel Clover Technology Company. We were very impressed with your invention and would like to reward you with a trip to Japan. What? Why so generous? We support the young minds of our country. You'll be able to see advanced technologies and learn from the leading experts. That sounds cool. Can I take my sister with me? Unfortunately, that's not possible. Then I'm not going. Are you crazy? Don't pass on such an opportunity because of me. Gemma's face softened. She thought for a second and nodded. A couple of days later, my sister left for the airport. I was sure that this was the beginning of something amazing, but I was wrong. It was the beginning of the end. For me, those 2 weeks dragged on. It felt like an excruciatingly long time. But then, the day of Gemma's return finally came. Miss Helen and I even threw a little party at the orphanage. When my sister walked in, I hardly recognized her. She was moving like a robot. Her eyes were empty and cold. What about the party? I want to be alone. Gemma, is something wrong? Gemma! She didn't react. Miss Helen said she was probably tired after the flight, but that was just the beginning. Gemma didn't answer when I called her. She was silent, gloomy, and thoughtful. And then she even forgot about our birthday. What is this? Your gift. We're turning 17 today. Really? Well, that does happen. Who are you and what'd you do to my sister? We're just different. You only think about having fun. I have more important things to do. I had never thought that words could hurt so much. That evening, I snuck into Gemma's room. I wanted to go through her things and figure out why my sister had turned into an ice sculpture. What are you doing? Gemma, you've been acting weird and you're acting like a child. Grow up already. It was the first time we'd had a serious fight. A couple of days after that, Mr. and Mrs. Smith arrived at the orphanage. They wanted to adopt Gemma. She came out to them with a suitcase as if she'd already been waiting for them. But we swore we would never be separated. Gemma looked at me with completely indifferent eyes. Thea, my place is not here. That's all she said before leaving. My world grew dim. While Gemma was in Japan, something happened to her. I blamed myself for that. After all, I had been the one to convince her to go on the trip. I cried for 2 days straight. But then Miss Helen came and hugged me. Thea, I know you're worried about Gemma, but I have some good news. I've finally been approved for adoption. I'm going to be your mom. I burst into tears again. Tears of joy, of pain. I was feeling everything at once. I liked living with Miss Helen. Sometimes I even called her mom. We made dinner and watched movies in the evenings together. I was finishing school and interning at a local pastry shop, but my soul ached like an old wound refusing to heal, and the name of that wound was Gemma. I missed my sister. I missed her so much. I scrolled through her social media every evening, but I didn't dare text her first. She didn't contact me either, like she'd forgotten she even had a sister. Despite everything, I was glad Gemma seemed to be doing well. She lived in a beautiful house in Boston now. Gemma made new friends. She often posted pictures with them. She also got a boyfriend, a handsome guy called Zach, but I still didn't recognize my Gemma in those photos. One thought was driving me crazy. What if Gemma had been replaced? It all went back to that trip to Japan and steel clover. One day, I decided to Google it. I expected to see a beautiful website, a bunch of buzzwords like innovation and quantum systems, but it turned out that steel clover didn't even exist. My thoughts were racing. The craziest conspiracy theories came to mind. I probably looked insane, like I was trying to prove unicorns were real.
Thea, I'm worried about you. I think you should talk to a specialist.
Mom insisted I see a therapist twice a week. I had to agree, but I knew I wasn't crazy. Gemma had been dragged into something bad. If only I'd been as smart as my sister, I would have figured it out quickly. But out of the two of us, she was the genius. And I was just Thea, who liked to make cupcakes. The day we turned 18, I was sitting with my phone in my hand, typing and then deleting a message to Gemma. But in the end, I didn't pluck up the courage to congratulate her. That evening, I looked at my sister's social media page out of habit. She posted photos from a party. Everything looked normal. Balloons, her dancing friends, but Gemma's boyfriend, Zach, looked kinda sad in all the photos. His eyes were red as if he'd been crying. Maybe they broke up and Zach is worried? I got curious and I opened his page. He'd posted pictures from my sister's party and added the caption, Gemma's last birthday. That was strange. A few days went by. It was an ordinary morning when Miss Helen's phone suddenly rang.
Yes? What? I can't believe this.
She was choking on her tears. I brought her some water, and only then did Mom manage to explain everything.
Thea, Gemma is gone.
What?
I'm so sorry.
How did it happen?
She was in a helicopter with her foster parents. It crashed. There were no survivors.
It felt like a ton of bricks had fallen on me. I couldn't breathe. I felt nothing but a piercing pain in my heart. Gemma was gone, and I hadn't even texted her. Miss Helen and I went to Boston for the funeral. I put on huge black glasses. I didn't want anyone to see my eyes. If they did, they would have realized that I wasn't just crying. I was falling apart. People kept coughing and straightening their black jackets. Someone was sobbing softly. Gemma's friends were standing to the side. Among them, only Zach seemed sad. He left a rose and quietly left, but my sister's friends were joking and even giggling.
Be quiet, you idiot, or someone might realize we know.
That seemed really frickin' suspicious to me, but at the moment, all I wanted to do was say goodbye to Gemma. Say goodbye to one half of my soul. After the funeral, we decided to stay in Boston for a couple of days. I was scrolling through the social media accounts of Gemma's friends and trying to find some sort of clue. Their behavior at the funeral was strange. Could they have had something to do with my sister's death? I didn't tell Miss Helen anything. I didn't want her to send me to the therapist again. Then, I saw that a girl called Maddie had thrown a party. It doesn't make sense. Their friend just died, but they're having fun? I need to go to this party and find out everything. When I arrived, the music stopped. Everyone stared at me, dumbfounded. Someone even dropped a glass. They probably thought they were seeing Gemma's ghost because we looked so much alike. Zach turned pale and rushed towards me.
Gemma, you can't be here.
He grabbed my hand and immediately dropped it as if scalded.
No, you're not her. Who are you?
I'm Thea, Gemma's twin sister, and I want to know what's going on here.
You should leave.
I'm not leaving until I find out the truth. Why did you write Gemma's last birthday in the post before she died? Why were you laughing at the funeral? I lost it. I started screaming, throwing things. I had never felt so desperate, and I hardly knew what I was doing.
I'm calling the police.
I stayed at the police station for several hours until my mother came to pick me up. I had to tell her about my suspicions.
Thea, I'm worried about you.
You're acting like I'm a wacko.
You obsess over crazy crazy theories because you can't accept that Gemma is gone.
I nodded. I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. The moment from the party kept replaying in my head. Zach had been sure that I was Gemma, but then he took my hand and instantly realized that wasn't the case. Ugh, what did Zach know that I didn't? I need to talk to him again. In the morning, I snuck past Miss Helen and I went to Zach's house. Thanks to social media, I knew where all of Gemma's friends lived. And then I saw a girl. Everything about her seemed too familiar. It was my sister. Gemma, you're alive! I thought I'd lost you.
I'm sorry, you must have mistaken me for someone.
We're twins. How could I not recognize my own face?
No, you're wrong.
She looked at me with empty eyes and disappeared into the crowd like a mirage. I sat down on the ground and burst into tears.
Thea, there you are. Why did you run away?
I saw Gemma. She's alive. She looked at me like I was crazy, but there was still love in her eyes.
Thea, sweetie, I'm worried about you. You should talk to your therapist.
No, I'm not crazy, and I'll prove it. The first thing I did was go to the house where Gemma used to live with her adoptive parents. Of course, the house was empty now, but I talked to their neighbors, and I asked them about the Smiths.
They were strange. Didn't talk to anyone. Rarely came home. They were always flying somewhere.
In a helicopter?
That's right, a helicopter came for them. Or a car with tinted windows.
That's when it dawned on me. The helicopter crash should have been on the news. I sat on the curb and frantically Googled it, but I couldn't find a single article or mention of it. I couldn't remember the last time I'd ate. I was exhausted and I had a terrible headache. The world swam in front of my eyes and I fainted. Apparently, passers-by called 911 because I came to in a hospital. Miss Helen was sitting next to me and holding my hand.
Thea, look at yourself. I know you're hurting, but I don't want to lose you. I've been waiting to become your mom for years.
I nodded. Maybe she was right. Maybe it really was time to stop before I actually lost my mind.
You'll be discharged tomorrow and we'll go home.
Yeah, it's probably better that way.
You should rest.
She left, and I stared at the ceiling and tried to fall asleep. I didn't want to think about anything. But then, the door creaked softly.
Hey, Thea.
Zach, what are you doing here?
Someone wants to talk to you.
And then Gemma walked into the ward. I felt dizzy again. No, you're not here. You're just a hallucination.
Hush, Thea. It's really me, and it's always been me. But no one can know that I'm alive.
I didn't understand anything. I was just happy that Gemma was there with me. We sat next to each other and held hands like when we were kids. She finally told me the truth. It turned out her trip to Japan after the school competition was just a cover. What really sparked interest were Gemma's formulas for medicines to treat serious diseases. The very formulas that my sister had been working hard on ever since she was 7 years old. She uploaded them on a government website just to try her luck, and luck smiled down on her. Instead of Japan, the government sent her to a pharmaceutical company's headquarters in Boston. She worked in a real laboratory. Scientists treated Gemma not as a child, but as an equal. The first tests showed that it would be really possible to invent a cure using her formulas. Of course, it was all strictly classified. Gemma couldn't tell anyone, not even me.
They suggested I move to Boston and keep working on a cure, but I was still underage at that time. That's why they decided to adopt me. For a long time, I didn't know whether to agree or not. Then we had that fight, and I decided that if my choice would save millions, I had no right to refuse.
Gemma treated me coldly on purpose. She hoped that I would let her go, forget, and move on. In Boston, my sister made friends, got a boyfriend, and spent most of her time in a lab. But then there was a data leak. Other countries tried to steal everything she'd created. And then they tried to kidnap Gemma so she'd tell them the formulas. The government decided to fake Gemma's death and create a new identity for her.
It meant that I had to break up with Zach and stop seeing my friends. But I couldn't disappear without a word. They would have suffered so much. So I told Zach, Maddie, and my friends that the crash and the funeral weren't gonna be real.
Zach was upset that he wouldn't be able to see you anytime soon. That's why he wrote Gemma's last birthday.
Yeah, but I promised him it wouldn't be forever. Someday, I won't have to hide anymore, and we'll be together.
Zach gave you this ring as a promise. That's how he knew I wasn't you. He didn't see the ring on my finger.
See? You're smart too, Thea. I'm sorry for making you suffer. I should have found a way to give you a sign that I was alive. but I was afraid that I'd be followed.
You've always been careful.
I need to go now, but I promise I'll see you again someday.
I was discharged the next day. Miss Helen and I returned home. I didn't tell her the truth about Gemma. I just said that I'd let my sister go. She believed me because I was smiling again. I'm moving on, and I'm gonna open a pastry shop. I feel at peace because I know that Gemma's alive. She's doing something great for humanity, and I just make the world a little sweeter. And that is something to be proud of.